Pragati, how are you?
I'm doing well.
How was your trip
Friday.
how was your trip back home in India? Was it good?
Oh, it was just long and tiring, but I'm doing much better. It's been a week now.
Okay. So
Yeah.
Pragati, I connected on Instagram. She's such an inspiration. She's come from India. That's where she's originally from. And she works in tech. Pretty interesting career that you do. She's a senior tech manager, a professor as well at a university in Switzerland, and she's a content creator. So now she tells her story. It's called My Swiss Story. She tells her story because she wants to help others that want to live an expat life and take the leap and go work abroad. And so I wanted to chat with you today about that transition, about corporate jobs abroad. And thank you for being here, Pragati. And do you want to give us a little bit more of intro
I
besides what
think
I have here?
you I think you covered most of it. But yeah, I mean, I've been in Switzerland for the last 7 years now. And this was our first move. It's not like, a lot of people that you meet in Switzerland, they are always like, okay, we did like a round in the US or we were in another country and that's our second or third expat move. But this really was my first. So it was a culture shift like nothing else that has happened to us. So, it was, and my daughter was 5, now she's 12.
Wow.
So it was quite a, roller coaster, I should say, in the first couple of years here.
That sounds very intense to go from India, which has a totally different culture, to Switzerland. Yeah. What are the differences, if you mind us asking? I've never been to India. I'm dying to go. I've been to Switzerland, so I kind of am familiar, but for those that don't know, like what were those differences in that somebody would identify with?
I mean, almost everything, but just the way you live. I mean, it's like, you learn to do things that all over again. So it's that big a change, just adapting to schools, adapting to the way you kind of operate at home, groceries, jobs, which I know you will ask me about, and the whole career aspect. I mean, it's a little bit people would feel very nervous about it in the beginning, but it was, for me, I always looked at it really very positively. And that's what really was the game changer for me, because I really took it as a blank canvas and I said, hey, I'm getting an opportunity to start over, and it's going to be hard, but this starting over is like, and not many people get that, right? So I was like, hey, I took that in my stride, and I think that was what changed things for me.
Wow. Thank you for sharing. And obviously it sounds like it's very hard to start over when you're older. I mean, you're in the middle of your life and middle or right before the middle, and you have a kid. I mean, how did that even come about, the opportunity? Did you create it yourself, or was it like you were invited by a company?
So this is a very popular term, at least maybe in expats all over the world, but at least in Switzerland, I hear this a lot. So I was the trailing spouse in this case. So it was my husband who got the opportunity to move because it was his company that was moving. And I always tell everyone that, you guys must have jumped with joy when he got this opportunity. And I was like, no, not at all, because I was working with Unilever at that point in time. And I was like, hey, I'm not going to just pack everything up and leave. So, as a couple, I think we had months and months of, going over that decision. But he was the reason that we moved, but I was the reason that we stayed back. So, I mean, the assignment was going to be 3 years, but it's been 7 now.
So you were really pushing back.
I was pushing back at that time because, everything was really well set. The school, our social life, family being close by, a great job. I was due for a promotion. So it was almost like, you have a really, really set life and you
completely,
say, hey, let's start over. Yeah.
Wow. Well, what beauties came out of moving abroad, and what were you able to discover now in Switzerland?
A lot. I mean, in the sense, like I was telling you, I I took it positively, and I already planned a lot before I was moving. So, I mean, I always tell this, that when I was moving and when I made up my mind after all the arguments that we had and the, the kind of time that I took to say, hey, yes, we will do it. And then I think I did a lot of planning. So at that point in time, I was like, hey, I've been in the corporate job for like already 13 years. I think I was 12 or 13 years in already. And I was like, but I've always wanted to do a master's. And this time I'm not going to research taking up another new corporate job, but I'm actually going to look at courses that I can do.
Right.
And I decided I will do my master's. So that's what was the first big brave move that I made when I came here. Was I went back to school, which was really hard for someone after 12 years in the corporate world to sit in a class, which was like 4-hour long lectures every 3 or 4 days in a week. And
Wow.
so coffee was my best friend, of course, but yeah,
So that's kind of how you adapted. You're like, okay, what am I going to do for myself to make? And it's similar. Our second speaker today, Camila, she has a similar story where her husband, it was his job that took them over there.
Yeah.
And she had to kind of like figure out, what am I going to do? And she ended up starting a business. And I want to talk about that with you too, about your business, my Swiss story. But
Yes.
what does that planning look like? Like, you were in India, you knew you were moving to Switzerland. Like, did you do all that research for the master's before? Did you get the visa before? What planning did you do?
So fortunately, in our case, the visa was really well taken care of by the organization that my husband was moving with. So that was not a big concern over there. But, right from finding an apartment while sitting in India and having no idea of how, apartment hunting looks like in Switzerland, to, figuring out schools, whether we're going for the international one or the local one, then looking at schools for myself, kind of getting a sense of what fee looks like. So all of that planning and kind of wrapping up in India, these were pretty big titanic tasks that were happening. And of course, I had no idea, but my sister pushed me into blogging at that time. She was like, hey, you're going to love it. You've been writing for a while. And I was like, yes, but I have only 4 or 5 people that want to read what I write.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't think that's a great idea. She was like, but you're going to be a student. Why not try it? And that's how, I started writing when I came here, where I had an audience which was more than 4 or 5 people in a couple of months, was when I started, kind of writing content about expatting, as well as all the travel that we were doing. And that had really started to resonate with, not just people here, but people in different countries who were going through similar transitions, or also the aspirational audience that you say who wanted to move to Switzerland. Right? Obviously, it's such a beautiful country and so many people want to be here. So I think that's what was really making the connection with a lot of people.
Interesting. And so what about the schooling? I would like to chat about, the kids. What does school look like for them in Switzerland?
So we took the option of international schools, because like I told you in the beginning, it was like going to be a 3-year assignment, right? So our plan was that, hey, we're going to stay for 3 years, so let's go for an international school. That way we know that even if we are back home or if we move somewhere else, then she can adapt really quickly. And that was a great decision, but we also made, because we really wanted her to learn the language and everything, we went for a bilingual system. So my daughter speaks excellent German now. Wow. She's a translator. Yeah, she's absolutely the translator in the house, though both of us are now B1 certified, but not the way she speaks. So
wow, so it opens up all these other opportunities.
Absolutely.
They get to learn multiple languages by being in the international school. And was that process hard? I mean, as long as you had the visa, I'm just thinking of other people that are here that maybe will be, wanting to choose Switzerland, but that don't have this company that's sponsoring them. Have you heard of scenarios like that where
I mean, it's really hard, and I don't want to sugarcoat it. It's really, really hard to come to Switzerland. I mean, the first advice that that I've heard from people around me, and that, I always tell also my friends who really, the aspirational audience that DMs me a lot, that I tell them first secure the job before just, taking the plunge of leaving everything and just moving.
Right.
That's not going to work. That plan might work for certain countries, but Switzerland, I mean, it's really hard, because just as a step to hire a foreigner, they really need to prove that, hey, there's going to be no local that can do the same job that you could.
Yeah.
So it's not easy.
And that's kind of the beauty of, though, some of the people that are in here is a lot of people are remote workers. They have their own businesses, or they want to start a side hustle, which I kind of wanted to chat with you about. For those that have the side hustle or they have the business, can they live in Switzerland, you think, with their business, even though it's not like the business isn't domiciled in Switzerland? Have you heard of people doing that?
Yes, and I know of a lot of people who run like these, these global businesses where some of their clientele is, say, local, but then majority of it is, on all over the world, and then they are doing coaching sessions through calls and stuff. So of course it works out, but there is one aspect that you need to register the way, as a Swiss business, and then can you really make your lifestyle work?
Right.
By, because there are different rates everywhere. Switzerland being the most expensive country, you have to be wary about the fact, hey, are you going to make significant amounts to sustain a good lifestyle in a country like Switzerland, especially when you work globally?
Is it it's the most expensive country, right? It's one of the most expensive. It must be top 10.
Yeah, for sure. Top 5, maybe.
Top 5. It's the most beautiful place I've been. I went to Verbier. You know Verbier?
Oh, yes. It's just gorgeous.
It's
beautiful.
Gorgeous. A burger was 25 euro at the top of the chairlift. And in the town, it was also 25 euro. So it's like for just the burger.
And I totally believe you. So this happened to me at a McDonald's on my day 1 when I landed here. And I'm like, am I buying gold? Like, what's going on? And that was my, introduction to, hi, you're in Switzerland now.
Yeah. But the lifestyle is very, it's rated one of the top countries in the world. It's rated, in terms of happiness, in terms of all that. Why is that? Especially coming from someone who's seen multiple perspectives. What is it? Is it really true? And what would you have to say about that?
You really can have a great lifestyle. And when you do find a job, your employers do, they have rules that they match it so that you can sustain a really good lifestyle. So even the average income is much higher than, say, for someone else in another country, because of course the cost of living is much higher. Happiness index, I'm not sure, because the weather is sometimes really, really, at least for me, because I come from a really, really sunny country, this was too much for me to handle. But yeah, in terms of public transport, the roads, kind of the ease of life, the safety, all of these things really. And of course, Switzerland is so beautiful. Like, I'm still wowed, right? There are times when we are up in the mountains, or, we're just hiking, and it's so easy to do all of this. Like, you can just do it over the weekend. So those are the things that are really big wow factors. That's what's made us stay.
Wow. Thank you. And what about, I have in our notes too, because we had our first call and I was like, I want to ask you, how do you create a community abroad? How did you do that? And I know with My Swiss Story, if you could also touch on My Swiss Story, the story that you share, the help that you provide to people, how that's also created a community for people that are expats.
Yeah, my blog was also a big way for me to connect with people, right? Because I had started building this audience, that, I started building connections. But I was really putting myself out there. Like, from the beginning, I had the Meetup app, and I would go to meetups that would resonate with me. I was at the university, so obviously I was lucky there that I could, kind of befriend people in my class.
Okay.
So I think I was one of the seniors in my class.
Yeah, you were one of the black sheep in a way. Yeah.
For sure, for sure. So I was the smarty pants in the class because I had done so much of all of this that it, like the assignments and all of this was much quicker for me. But yeah, of course I had that. And then I mean, I was really putting myself out there, and that's what you need, because you can feel really isolated and lonely when you move, say, from such a different culture like India is, or maybe somewhere else, if you're not, kind of going to make the effort of making sure that you're meeting people.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
definitely. So it's huge. And did you make those connections when you got there, or you did that beforehand? Did you start before making connections?
Not much before, because I was trying to kind of organize our lives more. But because of that, I already had met. So the moms at school, this is, I can never forget this, because the moms at school, and especially when you're an expat and your child goes to an international school, you will definitely meet a lot of parents at school.
Yep.
And my best friend still was, I think I met her in the first week of me being in Switzerland, because both of our children were going to school at the same time. So they had moved from Canada and we had moved from India, and we had so many stories to kind of exchange.
Wow.
But that was a big avenue for me. So when you have kids, I think it's really important to socialize with parents at school.
Amazing.
That really kind of opens up a lot of doors of socialization.
Yeah. And you don't really feel lonely being an expat in another country. Are there times of loneliness? I mean, I know you
Yes.
were just in India. I was looking at your stories and all the family gatherings you were attending. Like, do you miss that? And how do you balance it?
Well, I have my moments, I can't lie. I have my moments where I'm like, oh, this doesn't make sense anymore, or yeah, I mean, you do end up missing. Like right now, I'm in that phase because it takes you like a week or 10 days to kind of come out of all the noise and the people and the food and everything that's happened on a
From
holiday.
Christmas and the holidays.
Yes, yes. And by the way, Christmas is not such a big deal for us. Diwali is the bigger holiday for us. But this time we were like, hey, we feel really lonely as expats because everyone is gone, because Christmas is a big deal for all the other friends that we have.
Right.
So we were like, hey, we're going home and we're making them do Christmas no matter what.
So you took on basically a new tradition.
Yes.
By moving to Switzerland. Now you guys are celebrating Christmas.
Well, we celebrate. Yes, yes. For the last 7 years, we have really had the tree and done up the house. So we do everything. But, back home, I don't expect my mom and my mom-in-law and all of those people to do that. But I was like, hey, you're doing everything because we're coming home this time for Christmas.
That's cool. So do you feel the connections get stronger? Because when I moved abroad, my mom, we actually talked every day. And I felt closer to her when I was abroad than I did when I was living in the same city.
This is true. I mean, because you yearn for them and miss them as so much that, you kind of are putting in a larger effort to kind of keep in touch. And each of the visits are so much more special because you're really spending quality time with each other. Definitely. But still, it cannot replace the fact that, the ease of just meeting them versus traveling 10 hours to get home now.
Of course.
So,
of course. Thank you. And can you tell us about side hustle, like people that want to start a business? You started My Swiss Story, which is helping a lot of people. What is your advice and your tips to, start a business?
I mean, it has to be something that you really, really love. And I had no idea because I had been in the corporate, I'm an engineer, I'm a computer science engineer, hardcore techie, been with organizations with Oracle, SAP Labs. So enterprise systems kind of run in my blood. So I didn't know that, I loved writing. So that was my creative side in life. But then I was like, hey, no one's reading. And anyway, I wasn't paying too much attention. But then when I started writing, and then one step got to the next, that, I discovered a passion after moving, so much later in life, but I discovered a passion, especially, this whole content creation thing, which happened to me by accident. And the other one was teaching, which is also a side hustle of mine, which I absolutely love, and I make money in it, right? So it's not it's not just a hobby, or so to say, something. And I teach at the same university where I did my master's, so it's a great feeling again.
So that basically like opened up opportunities for you to, by being a student there, you actually then became a professor.
Yes, because I did a great job at my master thesis, and they were really, really impressed, and they wanted me to do a PhD, and I was like, no, I think I want to go back. I think I want to go back to my corporate, career, because I do miss it quite a lot. So that's that's the step that I took. And then after many years of doing the masters, they came back to me and were like, we think you can teach a particular class. And I was like, teach? Really? You don't know that about me. So, but they put the faith about something that I had no confidence in. So I was lucky in that sense.
Interesting. And I've heard of other people that they've gone abroad. Like I did a master's program in Spain, and the professor had an assistant.
Mm-hmm.
He was also getting paid. He went into the master, and then he became a co-professor alongside her. And then, you didn't have to have these crazy qualifications in terms of like visas and all this. Like some of them will just hire you. So I don't know if anybody resonates with, teaching, being a professor, but there are a lot of bespoke, interesting opportunities once you get there that you could jump in. There's private business schools. The one I was at was a private business school.
Yeah.
They have a lot of opportunities.
It's a very, very lucrative option. And I mean, of course, from the kind of, it's really rewarding, but also like really lucrative. And this is one of the aspects that most of the expats probably don't pay that much attention to, because it's something that we've never done before, or, we have different lines of businesses that we come from. But there's so much wisdom. And I see a lot of universities looking for people with practical experience now. So it's not boring. That's what I thought, academics and, kind of getting into the research line and all, but it's not boring. I mean, I come out more recharged after every class than I do, say, after a whole day of meetings.
Oh yeah.
So
because you're helping people, you're coming in front of people and you're holding space for them. Like right now, I mean, I've been in a 3-day training. They were 12-hour Zoom professional development training that I've been wanting to do as a Christmas present to myself. And it's like, I was so tired before this, but now it's like, you're energized, you're helping people, you're
absolutely
serving. And
a different high.
Yeah. So it's really nice to be able to do that. Thank you so much, Pragati. And do you have any last things to share in terms of like, what's your secret for someone who's looking to, take their business abroad in the next 12 months and move to a new country? What would be like?
I mean, for me, I always say, don't underestimate any of your strengths. You never know what's gonna really become big, and take the plunge, put yourself out there, meet people. These are the things that really, really helped me. I mean, I never thought I would be writing and I would have, so many, thousands and thousands of hits like in a couple of months, but that's what it was, that someone my sister pushed me a little bit and I started writing, and it became big. So you never know. So take a chance on yourself. That's the best thing you could do.
So it really just takes that push, and that's what we're trying to do. That's what we're trying to do for you guys, is like, give you that push, give you that reassurance that you can trust that whatever you choose is going to work out.
Yes, absolutely.
So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Pragati. And it was so nice to
thank you for the opportunity, Shawna. I loved it.
Of course. Well, thank you so much. And give Pragati a follow. She's really awesome, a very genuine person. And I think we can all kind of look as to how she created her life as an inspiration. So thank you.